lordosis caused by ankylosing spondylitis, an autoimmune disease. That doesn't sound right, my husband said. According to a poster in his physical therapist's office, lordosis is curvature of the spine, so a loss of lordosis would have made Melville taller, not shorter. I conceded that Melville's acquaintances noted his erect bearing. This morning I see that John J. Ross, M.D., hypothesizes that Melville's loss of lordosis was likely accompanied by compensatory hip flexion contractures, which, when chronic, lead to height loss. Through my office window, I see my husband reading in the backyard, and elect not to send the text I've written about Melville's hip flexion. Dr. Ross's larger point in The Many Ailments of Herman Melville, 1819-91, is that ankylosing spondylitis offers an attractive unifying diagnosis for Melville's numerous maladies, which included not only loss of lordosis, but rheumatism, sciatica, arthritis, and persistent eye pain. Tender as young sparrows, Melville described his eyes at age 29, which Charles Olson in his book Call Me Ishmael misquoted, perhaps mistranscribed, as tender as young sperms. John J. Ross claims Melville described his eyes as tender as pigeons' eggs, but his source provides no source. Nor, this morning, can I find one. But like an owl, I steal abroad by twilight, Melville wrote at age 31, owing to the twilight of my eyes. Those eyes were small and blue, and according to Sophia Hawthorne, quite undistinguished in any way, though she found his gaze powerful. How could he see so keenly without keen eyes she could not comprehend? His glance, she wrote to her mother, does not seem to penetrate through you, but to take you into himself. Kind of like a tractor beam, said my husband, who with his eyes attempted, unsuccessfully, I think, to take me and then the dog into himself. Stop doing that, our daughter said. Sophia Hawthorne's impressionistic paragraph about Melville's appearance and affect is, incidentally, by all odds, the fullest such description of Melville known to exist, according to one biographer. Melville is so murky, according to another, that a recently discovered photograph of a bearded man on a Staten Island pier caused excitement among Melvillians, even though the photo shows little more than a featureless silhouette. According to a third, Melville didn't want to be known. He is one who insists on anonymity. He was born Herman Melville, Melvill, in 1819, and eulogized as Hiram Melville, with an E, in the New York Times after his death in 1891. And registered as Norman Melville on a transcribed crew list at age 19. On his final sea voyage at age 68, he was identified in a Bermuda newspaper as A. Melville. His lifelong smoldering restlessness, his roving inclination. He sailed the Acushnet, the St. Lawrence, the Louisiane, the United States, the Charles and Henry, the Cortez, the North Star, the Meteor. He climbed riggings and mountains and trees, pyramids, minarets, campaniles. He rounded Cape Horn. He toured the Holy Land. He deserted ship in the South Seas and lived among cannibals, until he deserted the cannibals. When bad weather prevented his daily walk, he paced his porch. And Frances remembered the sound of him pacing his study. Sometimes I could hear him walking back and forth for a long time, and I would think how much pleasanter it would be if he were walking in the park with me. With his son-in-law, Melville would ride the ferry back and forth.